Hi everybody, the One Metha here, and thank you for joining me once again as I go through my favorites list on fanfiction.net. For those of you who don't know, what I'm doing is I am going through all of the stories that are on my favorites list, starting sorted by publication date, starting with the oldest and coming to the newest, and I'm rereading them and basically seeing how shit my taste was and whether or not they deserve to stay on my list. Hopefully it will be much smaller than what I started with. It's been going pretty well so far, so let's just jump right in with Life of Uzumaki Naruto by VenomLord. This was a fanfic I read rather early on. I think I started reading this around the time I got into Naruto, so around 2007-ish. So I remember liking it a lot, but it's just, oh man, it's like, it starts with a cliche of like, oh, there's an angry mob on Naruto's birthday who wants to kill him for being the fox, and oh, they're gonna beat him to death, and then let's cut out his vocal cord so he can't talk. And then as he does that and he's about to die, oh, Kyubi goes to save him, and oh, of course she's misunderstood and friendly, and so it's just all about, you know, how she just wants to be a big sister to her, and it just keeps piling on and on and on, and the doctors don't want to treat him and all this stuff, and it's like, oh, shit. God, this is cliche as fuck. I remember it, like, I liked it a lot back then, but like when I had to reread it now, it was just so boring. I hated it so much. Like, it starts when he's young, and like 20 chapters of this happen before he even graduates, and there's so much training that's going on, and there's a lot of power ranking that goes on, and it's like, oh, he's 10 years old and he can like land a punch on Sanin and do all this and beat them up, and he's like been training with weights that he doesn't even know how strong they are or how heavy they are and all that stuff, and he's as fast as the fourth Hokage was, and it's like, oh my god, it's fucking waste. Like, it's trash. I am throwing this shit off my list right now. Alright. Story 2 is Luna's Hubby by Meteoricshipyards. So this story is based on one of the stories that Rorschach Blot made in his Odd Ideas collection, and it had a lot of potential to be funny, you know, but it shows that, you know, how a different writer can change it, because Meteoricshipyards basically turns this into a very straightforward and simple story about, you know, Harry and his time at Hogwarts, and it wraps everything up in the Triwizard Tournament, as you know, most of these things like to do, but it's just kind of dull. Like, there's nothing that's super sensitive. It's not super funny in any way. I mean, there's a couple unique things. Like, one of the facts is that Harry, you know, doesn't go during his normal year because he's hiding, so he goes a year later, so the first year gets wrapped up differently, and then there's the whole dynamic between all the other characters. Bellatrix has some differences that come out as opposed to Sirius and that, but it's mostly just a simple story of like, oh, Luna loves him and they're married, and then let's go stop the villain and do that. It's just boring, so it's gonna fly off my list. Alright. Now we have a fic that's actually from Rorschach Blot, which is called X-Ray Specs, where Luna buys a pair of X-ray glasses from a non-magical magazine, and it's a single joke. It's another, like, this is a super short, like, you know, 1,000-word, one joke fic, but I love it. This author, I love his sense of humor. Hits my funny bone every time. I love this joke. I love reading it like over and over. I've read it a bunch of times, and I'll see it again and again. So that's staying on my list. Alright. Okay. Now we have another Kingdom Hearts fic. I say another, but not from this video, but previous, but okay. Kingdom Hearts, once again, mainly Final Fantasy characters, because that's what I like. And it's called Blossom Hearts by Silver Miracles. And basically, it's Kingdom Hearts with just a couple things swapped around, like the characters, like instead of Sora being the main character, it's Aerith. Tifa replaces Riku. Cloud replaces Kairi. Sora and Kairi actually replaced Donald and Goofy, so now they're the ones that follow Aerith around. Instead of Princesses of Heart, it's Princes of Blossom. Like basically everything with Heart is replaced with Bloom, just to keep it up with, you know, Aerith being a flower girl, I guess. All this stuff. They changes the first world from Alice in Wonderland to Final Fantasy VIII because, you know, there was no guy in Alice in Wonderland really, and they get up to Agrabah, but there's really nothing there. It's okay, like the writing's fine, it goes by quick enough, but at the same time, because that doesn't really dwell on anything and doesn't give you time to do much, it mainly just keeps hitting all the story beats with just words twisted, which sometimes it's a little awkward and it strains the feeling. But like, I didn't mind seeing it again after a really long time. Like, I don't think I had read this since I put it on my favorites list, which was years and years ago, probably over a decade ago. And this is just like, it's just not interesting. There's not, it might have become more interesting afterwards when we saw more stuff, but right now it's basically just a find and replace fic where you're just replacing names, and it's okay, and like I said, it doesn't even get very far, so it's not so. This flower sadly falls off my list. Alright, next is Betrayal's Reward. Alright, so Ranma crossover, of course. So this is a Ranma crossover with Marvel, where because of some wacky, you know, shenanigans by Kodachi, he gets framed for murder and is in New York, and boom, gets thrown in Rikers, where all the Ranma people basically say, "Fuck off! I'm done. I'm not dealing with the no inmate," and they wash their hands of him. And then as he just happens, you know, a breakout occurs, and then he gets hit by a symbiote, and then he decides, I'm going to be a superhero or like a mercenary or stuff like that, and goes on from there. So this actually takes place in the 90s of the Marvel Universe, and like Spider-Man is a big thing here, so like the Clone Saga is happening in this thing, and there's a lot of clones, not just Spider-Man, but Ranma clones as well, and it gets a little confusing. I remember when I started reading this, I was so sure that it was going to get knocked off, because I remember the end where it turns out by the end of this story, Ranma has like 5 different alter egos that they were using to hide his identity, because he was, at first he's still a criminal who escaped, and this way he says that way. Then it's like, oh, we had to replace it from his possible criminal identity with another identity, and it's like, oh my god, I was like, oh, it's so stupid. But as I kept reading, I kept liking it more and more. I just enjoyed what was going on. And like, there's certain things that feel a little rushed, like Ranma's new relationship, but there's more than enough time for everything else, and the fights and superhero stuff is there, that's fun enough. And I liked it. Like, by the end of just as the story went on, I liked it more and more, and I'm glad this is on my list, and it's gonna stay there. So, Yin Yang Spider, yeah, one of her names, you get to stay. Like, oh my god. But yeah, alright. Alright, now we're almost to the end for this video. We got One Trick Pony, which is, now this is just Ranma. And what happens here is Ranma hears somebody call him One Trick Pony, hears what it is, decides he doesn't like it, and thinks about how he's going to change his life. And while he's thinking of that, boom, him and Kasumi get hit by some magic spell that transport them to the world of the Langoliers by Stephen King. I guess you can call it a Stephen King crossover, but it's, yeah, basically. it's basically a lot of character development. There's not much fighting that goes on until the very end, but even that just seems obligatory. This is more about Ranma and Kasumi, like, looking at their lives, seeing that they are not happy with them, and trying to grow as people. And it's pretty simple, you know, it skips a lot of the mundane parts because it takes a long time, and it jumps a lot. Like, it has, like, a huge amounts of time of this, in this fic, are spent training. But what's good is, like, some people can write great training sequences that are really long and still make them interesting. But I think, like, a good writer can also say, okay, this guy needs to learn this, but it's not going to be really interesting, it's not going to be important, so fuck it. It took them a year to learn this skill, it took them 2 years to learn how to read and write Chinese, or this, and it's like, we'll move on, because it's not interesting, there's other shit that we can do. So I like that a lot. This works out well. You know, the epilogue wraps up basically everybody in the freaking canon of Ranma, and it's just a nice little character piece. Well, I say little, it's not that little, it's 70,000 words, it's longer than the first Harry Potter book. But it's a good story. I wouldn't mind seeing it again. I'm reading it, so, and yeah, it's staying on my list. Alright. And last for this video is The Power to Heal and Destroy by Phoenix Sun. Naruto gets a Sharingan. Ooh, fuck. I think this might be one of the first ones where I was super embarrassed that this was on my list. There might have been one or two earlier, but this one, like, oh god, the first 10 chapters of this are god awful. Like, it's so ridiculous. Like, the character Naruto, like, Kakashi, like, so it starts right before the Chunin exams, and, like, Kakashi's like, oh, I'm gonna train Sasuke because I'm a dum-dum and I don't like Naruto and blah blah blah, let's neglect him and move on. And so Naruto runs outside the village, and then Itachi comes up and is like, I'm gonna get you, and then boom, like, all of a sudden Naruto, like, he gets Tsukuyomi, then Naruto steals all of the Kyubi's chakra and then activates a Sharingan, because of course that shit works. And because of that, he finds out his family. He becomes super depressed and basically becomes Sasuke light, with the whole super serious aspect, overconfidence, not giving a shit about basically anybody, and, like, I hated him by this point, like, and and the power ranking is just like, during the Forest of Death scene, he's just throwing Tsukuyomi after Tsukuyomi out at people, or like Amaterasu every fucking second, and it's like, wow, what the fuck is the point then? Like, and then Naruto, and then like Sasuke gets the curse seal, and he's just like, I must test my power because that's all I care about. I'm evil, and like, oh god, these first 10, like. The first 10 chapters includes the preliminaries, and like the whole Neji and Hinata fight happens, and Naruto saves Hinata, and it feels completely out of place because there's no fucking reason he would do that, because he at this point he cares about no one, and you've been given no reason for him to give a shit about Hinata. And then after those 10 chapters, the writer starts trying to give them character motivation to explain their previous actions, and I guess it kind of works, and it's kind of explanatory, but it doesn't wash the taste of those shitty 10 chapters out. And then, even during those 10 chapters, Naruto is still a fucking asshole, because, like, he does the same thing Sasuke does, where he's super late until they're gonna disqualify him, and then he just walks in all cool while people are worried about him, because he's a cool badge, and it must be dramatic timing. And then, okay, you know what, fine, you want to be an asshole like that, that's fine. But then he does it again, during the invasion, where Shikamaru's like holding out and about to die, and he's like, oh, everybody's gonna die, like, I'm gonna give it up, because he's like basically bluffing. And then after a bit, Naruto comes out and is like, oh yeah, well, I saved him, I'm ready to kill you guys at any time. It's like, and then Shikamaru's like, where the hell were you? It's like, oh, I've been here for the last 5 minutes, I just wanted to see how you'd handle this shit. It's like, you're wasting time in the middle of a fucking invasion, and people are dying, and you're doing this little dramatic bullshit. Like, that, by that point, I just hated him throughout the rest of this story. And, you know, it continues on. things basically, you know, Sasuke retrieval arc, the Princess Yuki snow mission that gets combined with the Demon Country Priestess mission for a bit, and then it ends with him going on the training trip with Jiraiya, and I did not care. I hated him, and I was not interested in seeing this story, and I just don't want to. It's like, this was fucking painful to read, and I'm glad to give this shit the boot and get it out of my face, and this is not going to be on my list anymore. Alright, so there we have it. Bunch more stories, and you know, even after all these videos, I'm still not up to the part where I actually made a fanfiction.net profile. There's still like 1 or 2 stories that are going to happen before that, so it's ridiculous, and I've got years and years of shit to read still, over a decade, so yeah, this is going to be going on for quite a while. So if you like this and you want to keep up with my stories, and please like this video, subscribe, write a comment. You know, if you have a fanfic or a suggestion or something, please send it to me. I love fanfics of all kinds. I've read shit tons of different stories. And if you're interested in any of these, I have your links, well, not links, but URLs in the description for all of these stories, as well as a link to the forum post where I do all this talking and stuff, only in text. So if you don't want to see my face, and if you just want to read what I think, you can go and watch this forum post and just watch me update it there. Alright, well, there we go. Thanks for watching, and I will see you all again next time. Goodbye.